While getting in 4 drip in the infusion hall, I suddenly heard the thoughts of the handsome guy across from me. Oh my god, ISNT, this the woman from Anthony's phone wallpaper. If I call Anthony now 1T, he come rushing over. Getting in 4 alone in the middle of the night 1T, Anthony, be heartbroken. The infusion hall was packed with people, and I thought the handsome guy across from me was talking to someone else. Little did I expect that the person he was secretly photographing with his phone was actually me. 1 being alone in the hospital for in 4 drip when sick. 2 afraid to sleep while watching the 4 bottle. Just when I was feeling lonely and vulnerable, I suddenly heard the handsome guy across from me thinking, oh my god, ISNT, this the woman from Anthony's phone wallpaper. Getting in 4 alone in the middle of the night wouldn't Anthony be heartbroken if he knew. If I call Anthony now wouldn't he come running over in a flash. The infusion hall was packed with people, and I thought the handsome guy across from me was talking to someone else. Just like a curious onlooker, I was glancing around aimlessly. But who would have thought the person the handsome guy across from me was secretly photographing with his phone turned out to be me. I was wondering if my emotions were fragile from being sick longing for company, and thus I was hearing things until I heard the handsome guy's inner thoughts. He lowered his head as if sending a message. Anthony, look who I ran into at the hospital. ISNT, she the woman from your phone wallpaper. She's alone in the infusion hall with no one accompanying her. How would I know what illness she has? No one else keeping her company anyway. She looked so exhausted, her eyelids drooping several times as if about to doze off. Yet she did suddenly snap her eyes open every now and then to glance at the 4 drip. Does it hurt so much your heart is breaking? How, which hospital are you asking about? Such important news naturally costs money. $3,000 transfer the money now. Not a penny less or I want to tell you. What 3,000 that's daylight robbery. I was itching to rush over to the handsome guy across the street and ask if I should get half of that money. Ding dong, sounds like the money just came through. The handsome guy across from me shifted to a more excited sitting position. I continued, hearing his inner thoughts. Wow, Anthony, you're way too generous. I'll tell you right now. At the Municipal People's Hospital 2nd floor adult infusion room. Come quickly, waiting for you. Don't worry, I'm keeping an eye on her for you. I really wanted to walk over and talk to that handsome guy across from me. Why don't you watch my 4 drip instead of staring at me? I'm so sleepy and want a nap, but afraid no one will call the nurse when the infusion finishes. It do be troublesome if blood flows back or air gets pumped in. I racked my brains with eyes closed but still couldn't figure it out, which Mr. Liu has a crush on me, until 20 minutes later. Suddenly someone pushed open the door of the infusion room. The man in the black trench coat was so handsome, his long legs particularly eye-catching. A white shirt underneath with his toned waist faintly visible exuding intense sexual appeal. What surprised me most was that face, so familiar. The pinnacle of good looks, wait, ISNT, that Anthony, the younger brother of my best friend, who has already emigrated abroad. Suddenly long-buried memories came flooding back to attack me. 6 years ago on a scorching summer day. Our neighborhood had a power outage. Not being able to turn on the air conditioning at night was practically a death sentence. I vented on social media, is this power outage trying to kill me with heat? My best friend, who was abroad at the time, called and invited me to stay at her place. Since she's abroad anyway, her house back home would just sit empty. I rushed over to her place by car. I turned on the AC and sprawled out on my best friend's bed fast asleep. Little did I know I'd wake up in the middle of the night to find someone lying beside me. I was startled. Turning on the light, I saw a face so handsome it could anger the gods. Broad chest muscles, defined abs, and even more sculpted Adonis lines. The key was his fair skin. Just one glance could make your nose bleed. Only problem was he was completely drunk, his face flushed red, and no amount of shaking could wake him. I recognized him at first glance. It was my best friend's handsome younger brother. Though just 18, this fair-skinned, tender-looking youth turned out to be so well-built. When shirtless, one glance was enough to set pulses racing, dangerously tempting. The little rascal must have been drunk. He fell asleep the moment his head hit the pillow, completely unaware that someone was already in the bed. What should I do now? My best friend's apartment is a 1-bedroom with no other rooms available. The worst part is the living room doesn't even have air conditioning. There's no way I'm giving up my room. I wished I could kick him off the bed with one swift motion and make him sleep on the floor. But no matter how hard I kicked, his body wouldn't budge. I lay there fuming with my eyes closed, utterly at a loss. Suddenly the little brat rolled over. A pair of warm, domineering, slightly wine-scented, sensual lips pressed against mine without warning. I froze instantly, my mind blank. Who would have thought I'd be taken advantage of in the middle of the night by a handsome younger man 5 years my junior? I was about to shout to roar him awake. Just as I opened my mouth, his slippery lips slipped right in. I was completely stunned, my blood running cold. My eyes flew wide open, meeting his tightly shut ones. Her eyelashes were longer than mine. With eyes closed, they were as beautiful as upside-down moons. His breath sprayed against my face, warm, tingling, and making my heart itch a little. Never in my life have I experienced such intense emotional fluctuations in just 1 minute. I should have been furious with embarrassment, yet my heartbeat uncontrollably quickened. The little brat drunkenly ravaged through my mouth. I was so terrified that I completely forgot how to react normally. The tongue darts about trying to avoid being caught by him. The little brat isn't in any hurry either. When he can't entangle it, he starts sucking gently inside my mouth. The tip of my tongue brushes against the roof of his mouth. I felt as if struck by an electric current, wave after wave, unbearable. A thought flashed through my mind: this feels too good. Madness, my emotions were on a roller coaster, my mind in complete chaos. No matter how wildly he acts or what madness he commits, I can't let him continue this reckless behavior. I've lived this long without ever kissing anyone. Now I'm being driven wild by my best friend's little brat, torn between heaven and earth, dizzy-headed and completely flustered. I clearly can't stand this soft, sticky sensation. Yet in the end, my tongue can't help but yearn to touch his again. My heart was pounding so hard it felt like it would leap out of my throat. I thought I must be going mad. In the quiet of the night, my whole body burned with fever, drenched in sweat. Much later, when I tried to recall it, the memory remained hazy. Only the scorching sensation stayed vivid in my mind. Later on, that little bastard probably got his fill of teasing me and fell fast asleep beside me while waves of turmoil still surged within my heart, impossible to calm. I couldn't sleep a wink all night before dawn at 5, while the little bastard was still sleeping off his drunkenness. I fled in panic. 3, if only that had been the one and only accident. And then one day, half a month later, my best friend suddenly called me. "Eva, did you touch the surveillance cameras in my house when you were there last time?" My head buzzed with shock. "You have surveillance cameras in your house?" My best friend said, "I'm abroad, and my apartment back home is empty, so of course I installed surveillance cameras. Today on a whim I decided to check the footage, only to find that all the recordings were intact except for the night you stayed over. That footage was deleted." My scalp tingled with dread. Could it have been her brother who deleted it? Did he wake up the next morning, check the cameras, discover we'd done the unmentionable, and quickly destroy the evidence to cover our tracks? My heart leaped into my throat. This matter had to be clarified. "Did you install surveillance in every room?" My best friend said firmly, "Yes, except for the bathroom. Everywhere has cameras, but that night all the surveillance footage from every room was completely wiped. I'm not blaming you. I just want to get to the bottom of it. If it wasn't you but a hacker who broke in and copied videos of you sleeping, that would be a huge problem." I jumped up in shock. Before her brother deleted the video, he wouldn't have made a copy for himself, would he? I wished I could just disappear into the ground. And the worst part was I couldn't even ask my best friend to confront her brother about it. It was truly a case of the dumb-tasting bitter, herbs unable to voice the bitterness. I could only half-heartedly reply to my best friend, haha, you caught me. It wasn't a hacker. I deleted it myself. Didn't you? Seeing my elegant sleeping posture. My best friend laughed and cursed through the phone. Piss off. As long as it wasn't a hacker, I was actually going to help you delete it when I opened the video today. No worries then. After hanging up, I remained uneasy for quite some time. I was afraid her brother would come after me. Fortunately, nothing happened afterward. As time passed, I gradually forgot about that night's incident. Only occasionally, when I see kissing scenes between the leads in TV dramas, it evokes the indescribable beauty of that night, blushing secretly, savoring the memory. Feeling ashamed, quickly stopping the thought. Occasionally, while chatting with close friends, I'd unintentionally hear updates about his younger brother. I always paid careful attention, but dared not inquire too much. Who would have thought that after 6 years, I'd see him again in the IV therapy room? Anthony strode quickly toward me. No, to be precise, he strode quickly toward the handsome guy across from me, as if accidentally discovering me. With an expression of surprise and astonishment. "Eva, why are you here alone getting in for drip? Are you feeling unwell? Do you need a hand warmer?" As he spoke, he had already taken out a hand warmer from his bag and placed it under my wrist. After an hour of 4 drip, my wrist had long gone numb from the cold. The sudden appearance of the hot water bottle was nothing short of a lifesaver. He leaned lazily against the empty seat beside me, his chiseled profile strikingly handsome. My best friend told me that he took over the family business right after graduating from college last year. Within just 1 year of returning to China, the projects he handled have doubled the company's profits. Her father never misses a chance to praise his son to everyone. Truly, the newborn calf fears no tiger. The young heiress' aura was so powerful it sent shivers down one's spine. Especially when I learned this little rascal had a crush on me, which added another layer of fascination. I stared straight at him, never expecting my gaze would make his ears turn red. The black trench coat accentuated his noble and composed demeanor. Yet it couldn't conceal the turmoil in his eyes. "Eva, is there something on my face?" Suppressing a laugh, I shook my head. "No, it's just such a coincidence." For the handsome guy across from me also pretended to be surprised and greeted me. "Haha, what a coincidence, right? So this lady knows Anthony. I'm Arthur, Anthony's brother. Miss, I could see you were dead tired earlier. If you're really that sleepy, why not take a nap? Anthony can keep an eye on your 4 drip for you." I was the one who asked Anthony to accompany me. Who'd have thought he'd run into someone he knows even in the infusion room? Anyway, whether Anthony's accompanying one person or 2, it's all the same to him. Anthony, right. No trouble at all. Eve, you go ahead and sleep. I had just sneezed when Anthony took off his coat and draped it over me. "Eva, is that a bit warmer now?" The coat still carrying his body warmth instantly reminded me of that indescribable night 6 years ago. Damn it, my heart was already beating out of rhythm. I could only close my eyes, desperately trying to convince myself to stay calm. Yet my emotions refused to settle, floating in midair like a roller coaster. How could I possibly believe that little rascal actually had a crush on me? His inner voice reached my ears again. "Anthony, what are you being so reserved for? Can't you see Eva is sleepy and needs a pillow? Offer your shoulder for her to lean on already. Who cares if she has a boyfriend, since when do latecomers get the upper hand? Isn't it all about fighting, snatching, and playing coy? So, what if you're 5 years younger than her? How would you know she doesn't like younger guys if you don't make a move? What older sister wouldn't love a restrained, obsessive, clingy younger brother? Younger guys need to have sweet tongues. For example, wait until your sister finishes her 4 drip, then take the chance to walk her home and pin her in the elevator. Say this. Sister, you're exactly my type. Sister, can it be me? Sister, I only want to date you. I'm going crazy thinking about it. Sister, I'll always listen to you from now on. Sister, can I be your personal belonging? Sister, can I rebel against you and tease you? Sister, feel my abs. Help someone please understand I'm so sleepy, but just can't fall asleep. My mind keeps replaying how Anthony pinned me in the elevator, his magnetic and alluring tone as he spoke those words to me sentence by sentence. Nothing actually happened, yet I'm already having a mental orgasm. I couldn't help but swallow hard. I'm actually feeling a little excited. I can't imagine how amazing it would feel if Anthony really pinned me against the elevator wall, whispered those flirtatious words close to my ear with his deep resonant voice. Having been single all my life, I can't handle even the slightest bit of stimulation. I secretly peeked through my eyelashes. I unexpectedly noticed Anthony staring at my face with a thoughtful expression. His eyes seemed to be wrestling with something. When he realized I'd opened my eyes, his gaze darted away faster than mine did. But the next second, he actively closed the distance between us, offering his shoulder. Eva, I'll lend you my shoulder to lean on. Before I could refuse, his long arm had already reached over, pressing my drowsy head onto his shoulder with swift, decisive movements and utterly unapologetic. When my sister was sick and needed 4 drips, she always leaned on my shoulder. In my eyes, you deserve the same treatment as my sister. Otherwise, when my sister finds out I ran into you at the hospital but didn't take good care of you, she'll never let me hear the end of it. I tried my best to feign composure and restraint. I'm really too exhausted to stand on ceremony. Thank you, Anthony. Anthony appeared even more composed than I was on the surface. It was nothing really. I wasn't specifically bringing you a pillow, just happened to run into you. I smiled without speaking, having heard the handsome man's inner thoughts. I almost believed this supposedly chance encounter. 5. I closed my eyes and leaned against his shoulder, sleeping lightly. The slightest commotion in the infusion hall would wake me. The moment I opened my eyes, I saw my photo on his phone's lock screen. My head buzzed with shock. The photo looked unmistakably like a screenshot from surveillance footage. Wasn't this the same night 6 years ago when I shared a bed with him? I jerked my head up and sat bolt upright. Anthony looked even more panicked than I was. Flustered, she turned off the screen, her ears burning crimson. He abruptly stood up and fled in panic. All pretense of grace and composure vanished, instantly replaced by sheer nervousness and fluster. Sis, the 4 drip is almost empty. I'll go call the nurse. He didn't even notice himself walking out of step from nervousness as he left. The handsome guy across had already covered his face with his hand, and I could hear his frantic inner monologue. Anthony, you're walking out of step. What bad thing did you do to be this nervous? How embarrassing. Is this really the Anthony I know? Bring out that decisive calm you show in business battles. Help. Eva seems to be laughing. What if she's mocking me? Anthony, you've lost your wife. I want to say it's not mockery. Watching this 185-meter-tall college boy walking nervously with mismatched steps unexpectedly feels quite endearing. When he walked back again, Anthony had regained his usual composure in every gesture. As the nurse came to remove the 4 needle, I instinctively pulled my hand away, but Anthony gently held my wrist. He knelt on one knee before the chair, pressing the cotton ball against the injection site with impossibly tender care. Shall I take you home, sis? I pointed at the handsome young man Arthur sitting opposite. You don't need to keep your friend company. Arthur shook his head like a rattle drum. Eva, don't worry about me. I'm afraid I'll have to stay at the hospital till dawn. Let Anthony take you home first. Anthony's driving skills are super steady. Anthony had already taken the initiative to support my shoulders, not knowing that I'd lose my balance. When standing up, fortunately his arms were broad and strong, instinctively protecting me. Caught off guard, I fell into a solid embrace. Even through the cashmere sweater, I could feel the firm chest muscles. Be careful, sister. I tried to pull away from his embrace, but he quickly lifted me onto his back. Sister, are your legs too weak to stand? Let me carry you, don't refuse, or my sister will definitely scold me. I fell entirely into the broad warm back that carried his body heat. It was too late to refuse. So I simply wrapped both arms around his neck and smiled. Anthony, if you're going to say it like that, then I won't refuse. I wonder if my best friend has ever been carried piggyback by a younger guy in all her grown-up years. When Anthony carried me downstairs on his back, I could feel the temperature of his neck rising inch by inch. So thrilling. Even more thrilling was when he drove me home. When the car radio suddenly played First Love, his Adam's apple twitched. Has Eva heard the Easter egg in the song? 7 seconds after the chorus ends, he deliberately paused, his lowered lashes casting small shadows under his eyes. The sound engineer intentionally left in a kissing sound, just like that night 6 years ago. My mind buzzed violently, alarm bells ringing loudly. Is this little brat finally going to settle the 6-year-old score with me? Sure enough, I immediately saw the corners of his eyes turn red as he said, "You were also my first love." Me help. I was terrified of the sudden awkward silence. I was so embarrassed, I could have dug my toes into the ground. I really didn't know how to respond to this topic. It wasn't until the car stopped in front of my apartment building that I finally mustered the courage to ask, "Do you want hush money, Anthony?" The air in the car seemed to freeze solid. Anthony's fingers clenched the steering wheel so tightly, his knuckles turned white. He suddenly leaned in close. The sound of the seatbelt tightening made me press my back against the seat. Hush money, his Adam's apple bobbed as his nose nearly brushed against my earlobe. How would you like to seal it, sister? My breath suddenly became erratic, my fingertips already damp with sweat. By chance I caught a glimpse of the faint tattoo on his collarbone. Momo. I was stunned that my name. I got this tattooed by a master in Tokyo last year. Anthony avoided eye contact. I heard Eva was going there for business talks, so I held on to that 001 chance of bumping into her. I suddenly remembered that unexpected downpour in Tokyo, and the boy wearing a fisherman's hat in the Ginza cafe could have been this little rascal. Big sis, do you have a boyfriend? He suddenly cupped the back of my neck, his nose brushing against my Cupid's bow. If you don't have any, would you accept me as a living hush money? The distance was too close, too intense, my head spun. How did that nervous kid, who couldn't even walk properly, suddenly become so fierce? His damp breath sprayed against my face, making my scalp tingle. I recall again that night 6 years ago. Those warm, domineering lips tinged with the scent of alcohol, so irresistibly sensual. The sudden press against my lips, its lingering turbulence, and unforgettable aftertaste. I nearly closed my eyes and leaned in, reliving the absurdity of that night. Anthony, calm down. I was too cowardly. I flung the car door open and fled in panic. Only during the elevator ride upstairs did I begin to regretfully reflect and replay the events in my mind. I feel bad about just running off and leaving him like that, but I don't have the courage to take the elevator back down to look for him. Ding dong, a notification pops up on my phone. Someone wants to add me on WeChat. The friend request note says, Big sister, I'm sorry for scaring you earlier. If you're unwilling, just pretend I never said anything. Don't worry, I won't disturb you. I'll go back to silently thinking about you in my heart like before you're sick. So rest early. Good night. I accepted the friend request, and after some thought sent him a message. I don't have a boyfriend. Anthony replied instantly, Big sister, then can it be me? I didn't. He replied, turning off the screen. The amount of information I received tonight was overwhelming. I needed to calm down too. The next morning I had just woken up when I saw a message from Anthony. Sis, I bought you some stomach-warming yam porridge and left it at your doorstep. I opened the door in my slippers and sure enough found a thermal container on the ground outside. Inside along with the porridge were other breakfast items, all my usual favorites. Stuck to the bottom of the container was a note, its bold handwriting slightly smudged with grease. Sis, no need to rush your answer, but while you're thinking it over, may I pursue you? Carrying the thermal container back inside, I sipped the porridge and sent him a WeChat message. The yam porridge is delicious, thank you, Anthony. Anthony replied instantly, what would you like for lunch? Sis, I'll bring it to you. I replied with a smile, being so attentive. Anthony, I'm deliberately scheming to become your personal belonging, sis. Me are all youngsters these days so blunt. I can't resist when you get all passionate like this. Yet strangely, I don't feel the slightest bit repelled. The corners of my mouth keep curling up uncontrollably. Oh no, I can hear my heart pounding wildly in my chest. 7 at noon, Anthony indeed arrived again carrying a thermal lunchbox. Today he was dressed formally and elegantly in a full suit, looking slightly travel-worn, as if he had rushed over hurriedly from some meeting venue. His business car was still parked downstairs of the apartment building. Probably he had asked the nurse last night, so he knew I still needed to go to the hospital for an drip. Sis, after you have lunch, I'll take you to the hospital. I've arranged a private room for you. Don't refuse, the 4 hall is too noisy, it'll disturb your rest. I thought he had arranged a standard shared ward for me. To my surprise, the environment was as nice as a hotel's business suite. He sat beside me with his laptop handling official business. The sight of him focused on his work was truly a feast for the eyes. That dedication and passion made everything around pale in comparison, with charm naturally radiating and unrestrained hormones coming at you absolutely dashing. No wonder everyone says work is the best cosmetic surgery for men. Lying on the hospital bed receiving an drip, I secretly took a photo with my phone and was quietly admiring it. Suddenly the ringing of a phone shattered the silence in the ward. Lanting, why does my best friend appear when I video call you? Arthur posted on social media saying he played matchmaker for you, and you finally dared to make a move. I was wondering who you were making a move on. Never in my wildest dreams did I think you'd try to hit on my best friend. My best friend's scream pierced through the hospital room. I turned my head in shock only to see Anthony blushing from the tips of his ears all the way down to his collarbone. But he suddenly grabbed my hand, intertwining our fingers. He raised our clasped hands firmly toward the camera. Not flirting, I'm courting her. I watched helplessly as my best friend's murderous expression shattered into shock. What's on Eva's neck? Anthony, are you a dog or something? I never expected the plot to develop like this. How come I don't know what's on my own neck? I quickly checked my neck using my phone's selfie mode. I noticed it had turned red like a little strawberry without me realizing when. Then I remembered I'd felt an itch earlier and rubbed it hard. My best friend misunderstood, so I quickly explained. Clara, it's not what you're thinking. Don't let your imagination run wild. This is how it happened. But my best friend cut me off. Anthony, you better come clean. When did you two start? The little rascal stole a glance at me and said sheepishly, 6 years ago. My heart skipped a beat. Damn it, my best friend's scream pierced through my eardrums again. Say that again. How many years ago? Anthony's voice was husky and seductive. 6 years ago, I got drunk and slept in the same bed with Eva. My head was about to explode. I immediately lunged forward and covered Anthony's mouth. I wouldn't let him continue, but Anthony pried my hand away and said righteously, though, it was an accident. But sis, you've always taught me that a man should be faithful to one woman. Chastity is a man's best dowry. Since I've already given myself to Eva, I only want to be Eva's possession for life. What's wrong with that? My heart was pounding uncontrollably, as if something was about to leap out of my throat. My best friend on the video call looked even more stunned than I was, taking a long moment before she managed to react. So that deleted surveillance footage from 6 years ago, that was your doing. Wait, let me process this. What exactly happened between you two under that surveillance camera? Is this an appropriate topic to discuss? I quickly ended the video call. I watched as Anthony's eyes gradually darkened, his accusatory gaze, asking me, does Eva not intend to take responsibility for me? His eyes were red at the corners as he advanced step by step. Does Eva plan to wear the pants and not take responsibility? Help, this guy's gaze is filling me with guilt. I didn't say I wouldn't take responsibility. The next second the little brat's eyes lit up. So does this mean big sis agrees? How agreed to what? Did I just get played by this kid? I swallowed hard, trying to persuade him to calm down. Lan Ting, I'm 5 years older than you. Suddenly, my lips were sealed by his. His desperate plea whispered against my ear. Eva, do you think I'm small? But I'm not small at all. I'm big, don't dismiss me so easily, okay? I'm going crazy. I don't believe he can't understand what I'm saying. He grabbed my hand and made me touch the tattoo on his collarbone. Sis, do you know what I told the tattoo artist when he asked who Momo was? I told him Momo is the bad big sister who stole my adolescence. Only then did I notice the hair tie around his wrist. It looks exactly like the one I lost in Japan 6 years ago. I stared blankly at the hair tie on his wrist. Is this hair tie mine by any chance? Anthony's ears instantly turned crimson as he frantically tried to hide the hair tie. Sister, this I found it, it's mine. I've worn this as a protective charm on my wrist for 6 years, you can't take it back now. I awkwardly smiled. They're not worth much, just 3 yuan each. Anthony pursed his lips tightly, his eyes fixed unblinkingly on the hair tie around his wrist. No, to me it's priceless. Every time I miss you, touching the hair tie makes it a little easier to bear. My chest suddenly felt unbearably tight. I see, then you keep it. I noticed the little rascal visibly relax. Knock knock, someone was at the door. Come in. The little brat instantly reverted to his domineering CEO persona, settling back into his chair. It was his secretary who walked in with the files, panting heavily as she said, Anthony, I didn't mean to disturb you at the hospital while you're caring for patients, but this document urgently requires your signature. Anthony nodded expressionlessly, exuding the full demeanor of a superior. He glanced at the documents with indifferent eyes. Picking up the signing pen, he scrawled his signature with bold, sweeping strokes. His expression and attitude were completely different from when he spoke to me. I almost thought he had a split personality. The contrast was utterly delightful. The secretary left with the signed documents. The air in the hospital room suddenly grew thick again. His indifferent gaze quickly turned fervent and sincere. Eva, he suddenly leaned forward, bracing himself on either side of the hospital bed, trapping me within the confines of cedarwood scent and body heat. The surveillance footage from that night 6 years ago. I clenched the sheets tightly, my nails nearly digging into my palms. The chaotic memories of that night became vivid once more. His drunken, feverish lips pressed against me with wild intensity. Perhaps sensing my trembling, he suddenly knelt on one knee beside the hospital bed. From this upward angle, his suit pants stretched taut, accentuating the elegant lines of his muscles. These 6 years I've honed myself into the sharpest blade, yet hearing your name still reduces me to that helpless fool who panicked upon waking to surveillance footage. Don't laugh at me. So he noticed my little scheme? I quickly shook my head. There are no jokes. I really like this side of you that you only show to me. The little brat's eyes burned with intensity. Again, really? Vachem, then I'll only show it to you from now on, sis. He chuckled softly, persistently, holding my hand, his fingertips lightly tracing circles in my palm. As long as big sister doesn't reject me, I'll work hard to practice being your obedient puppy. Damn, even if my best friend flew back from abroad right now, I still wouldn't be able to resist her younger brother's irresistible charm. My best friend's precious little brother, so handsome, who wouldn't want to take a bite? Why can't I get a break? The day I fully recovered from my illness, the city was drowned in a torrential downpour. Anthony walked me to the parking lot, holding the umbrella entirely over my head. When I got into the car, I hadn't been touched by a single drop of rain. He was soaked to the bone. The soaked white t-shirt clung tightly to his abs, with the loose waistband of his pants revealing his Adonis belt, an utterly tempting display of masculinity. I struggled to avert my gaze, only to hear Anthony's soft chuckle by my ear. Your heartbeat is so fast, sis. Damn, brat, he did this on purpose, didn't he? He suddenly moved closer. Sister, you have 30 seconds to push me away. I counted his pounding heartbeat and hooked my finger around his belt at the 29th second. Mr. Liu never learned about rounding. The next second the world spun as he cupped the back of my head and kissed me deeply. Sister, can I openly be your personal belonging now? I held his face in my hands, trying hard not to laugh out loud. No, you'll have to chase me for at least half a year first. Anthony gritted his teeth, looking absolutely determined. Watch my performance, sis. I'm looking forward to it. 9. The younger brother's pursuit is passionate and wild. Flirting with irresistible charm and sweetness, kisses never stop. I pretended to be calm on the surface, but inside I was ecstatic. Half a year later, on a certain day, my phone suddenly started vibrating wildly. My best friend had sent 99 messages. Eva, you're done for. Anthony's computer password is Momo0613. The safe contains all the photos he stole from my album of you. And in the third shelf of the bookcase, wrapped in the wealth of nations, is the recording of your debate competition from 2 years ago. If you don't believe me, go look for yourself. I stared at the messages from my best friend and quietly slipped into his study. Standing on tiptoe, I reached for that hefty economics tome. A videotape wrapped in craft paper slipped to the floor. Handwritten on the sleeve, 2023-10-23, debate competition, Eva third speaker for the opposition. Suddenly the memory crystallized. That was the debate I lost most spectacularly. By the end, over half the audience had left, but in the third row a boy in a baseball cap kept clapping until the very last moment. It wasn't just my imagination. What are you looking at, sis? A warm chest suddenly pressed against my back as he lowered his head to nuzzle my earlobe with his nose. My phone kept vibrating frantically. My best friend had sent another message.
Chung, you're so dead this time.
How did you provoke my crazy brother? There's a locked room in my brother's villa. I hacked into the security system and saw. Before I could finish speaking, I was swept off my feet. Anthony's eyes welled up with a familiar flush at the corners. Eva, don't listen to my sister's nonsense. She wants to get married herself and can't stand seeing us in relationships either. But I still asked, where is that locked room? Can I take a look? Anthony showed an expression of both discomfort and nervousness. But during these 6 months together, he rarely refused me. No matter how difficult my requests were, he would always fulfill them for me. After hesitating for a long time, he took my hand and led me to that small room. Sister, you must promise not to laugh at me. I nodded all right. The moment the fingerprint lock clicked open, an entire wall of surveillance screens illuminated the darkness. July 13th, 2020, 21:47, I crouched in front of a convenience store feeding stray cats. April 2nd, 2021, 15:13, I stood waiting for the bus after work. December 31st, 2023, 23:59, I was watching the New Year's Eve fireworks on the street with my colleagues. I froze. What are these? Anthony nervously and tightly wrapped his arms around me from behind. Sis, it's satellite imagery. I didn't mean to track your life through satellite imagery. Sometimes I just miss you and can't help checking. I swear I'm not a stalker, believe me. There was also surveillance footage from that sweltering summer night 6 years ago. It was my first time seeing what came after. Early in the morning, when he woke up trembling, he buried his face in the pillow where I had slept, perhaps recalling the absurdity of the night before. He sat on the bed murmuring to himself, Eva, I'm sorry. Don't worry, I'll take responsibility for you. Just wait for me to grow up, okay? To me, it was just an accident, yet it trapped him deeper and deeper. Tears suddenly splashed onto the control panel. I couldn't help but be moved by his sincerity. Turning around, I wrapped my arms around his neck. All those lost years lingered between our lips. He held my waist against the flickering screen. Finally speaking, that response, 6 years overdue. Sister, I've grown up now. A 6-month probation period. Do you think I can make it? I really want to be with you so much it's driving me crazy. I nodded okay. His performance was so thrilling it was hard not to be pleased. My barren heart felt instantly filled. I just want to hold him like this, entangled, lost in passion. 10 in the blink of an eye, another half year passed. It was my wedding day with Anthony. Arthur was one of the 10 groomsmen, and he ran over to tell me. Ha ha ha, this is hilarious. Anthony S. in the bathroom rehearsing his wedding vows. He has never been this nervous, even when giving speeches at economic summits. Eva, how did you train Anthony to become such an exceptional pure love warrior? Like I did tell him I was nervous, tooped. Yet she did suddenly snap her eyes open every now and then to glance at the 4 drip. Next chapter, Eva, you've outdone yourself. I treat you like a sister, and you treat my brother like a child groom. Of course, I knew my bestie was just teasing me. Didn't you just praise him last month for looking dashing in that suit like a gangster? Anthony had slipped in unnoticed. The little brat's ears were bright red, but he stood his ground. Gia, don't bully my wife. Arthur stood beside them, frantically snapping photos with his phone. Anthony, don't get so nervous walking the red carpet later that you start moving your arms and legs on the same side again. Anthony kicked at him, piss off. He stared at me in my wedding dress, making me remember that day during the fitting when he pinned me against the dressing room mirror, biting my ear and saying, the way my sister looks in that white dress makes me want to commit a crime. I shyly averted my eyes. When the wedding march began to play, Anthony held my arm, walking with rock-steady steps. With all our friends and family as witnesses, Anthony knelt down on one knee before me. You always say I'm 5 years younger, but ever since I saw you curled up in that chair in the infusion room, I swore no matter how you saw me, I would take the initiative, stay by your side forever, and never let you struggle alone again, with drowsy eyelids. Even though it was an accident, I think it was beautiful that early summer morning, the moment I woke up, I wanted to weld myself into the rest of your life. For 7 years, I've practiced kissing you every single minute. Can I show you the results now? Arthur took the lead in clapping and cheering. The MC was also laughing, holding the microphone and saying, it seems the groom can't wait to kiss his bride. Bride, is that okay? I gently closed my eyes, nodding nervously, yet happily yes. The next second, Anthony stood up, cradling the back of my head, and kissed his bride amidst the cheers of the entire crowd. The enthusiasm of a younger man is always so hard to resist. The end.